Our next lesson is called Key Features of Functions, Day 2. So to start out, what I would like you to do is refer back to the previous lesson's notes if you need to, and I would like you to answer this first question. What do you notice? So there are 3 parts to this question. In part A, highlight where the function is increasing, state the interval of the domain below. In part B, very important, it says use a different color. You're going to highlight where the function is decreasing and state the interval of the domain below. And then in part C, was there any part of this graph that was not highlighted? Why or why not? Okay, so at this time, I'd like you to pause the video, answer these 3 questions, making sure you have 2 different color highlighters with you, and then you're going to resume the video to go over the answers with me. All right, the first question, A, is going to highlight where the function is increasing. So increasing here, I'm going to highlight so I remember that's the color for this. I want to know where as the x's are going up, the y's are going up. So that's going to be this portion of the graph, and I know that can be confusing because I see an arrow pointing down. That does not mean that this section is decreasing. I want to look at the graph going from left to right, and I see as the x's are going up, the y's are also going up. Now that's happening from this cutoff point right here, which is at x equals -2. Remember, when we're doing increasing or decreasing, we do not include the number in the interval. So we're going to write x is less than -2. That's where the function is increasing. And there is an arrow here. So that's why you don't see the x value sandwiched in between 2 different numbers. It's only going to strictly be when it's less than -2. Now on this side, I have closed. So let's go ahead and put that first. And then we'll answer the next question, which is using a different color. So my different color is going to be purple. I'm going to highlight where the function is decreasing, and I'm going to state the interval of the domain below. So continuing to read from left and right, I see that from here to here, as the x values are going up, the y values are coming down. So this is actually a decreasing portion of the graph. So this time I have 2 endpoints. I have one here, this was at -2. This one is at 3. And then here the endpoint is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we want to make sure we go from 3 is less than x is less than 9. And that would be the interval where it is decreasing. So part C now is important. It says, was there any part of this graph that was not highlighted? Why or why not? So right here, this portion that I'm kind of putting a circle around never was highlighted. That means it wasn't part of increasing and it wasn't part of decreasing. So I want to talk here about the fact that there are portions of graphs that might be neither of these things. So was there any part of the graph that was not highlighted? Yes. And then it says why or why not? Well, that portion of the graph is a horizontal line. So we'll say the horizontal line segment is not highlighted because there is no increase or decrease. So the word we have for this is it remains constant. Okay, it remains constant. So there may be portions of the graph that are neither of those things. And that was one added little piece of extra information that we wanted to go over with you separate from the previous lesson. And we're going to take some time now to do a quick review of our previous information so that you can then practice. So at this time, I want you to take out your key features cheat sheet, and we're going to review the key features that we learned about in the previous lesson using the same picture from above. Here's a new copy of the picture so that you can make markings or highlight as we go. So I'd like you to try this in order of the same features that you did on the previous day. So you're going to look at your previous day's notes and you're going to try to find the min and the max. And I'll write this with you. So we're going to do the min and you're going to find the max. Then you're going to do your intercept. So you're going to do your y-intercept and also your x-intercept. And right after we did the x-intercept, we talked about something called zeros. They are connected to x-intercept, so I would suggest that you do that after you find the x-intercept, okay? So on that side, you can write those things. Then on the other side, I want to know where is it increasing and decreasing, which you're just going to be able to copy from above, right? So where is it increasing? Where is it decreasing? And then I want to know where is it positive, which means f of x is greater than 0. And I'd also like to know where it is negative, which is when f of x is less than 0. And then lastly, the other thing we talked about was I want to know where the turning points of this graph are. Now be careful that you look at the cheat sheet very carefully. Remember that the cheat sheet is organized in a way that's even more helpful than our notes from the previous lesson because it groups things based on whether you're supposed to be writing a value, which means like a number, whether or not you should be writing your answer as a coordinate, so parentheses with an x and a y, or whether you should be writing your answer as an interval with less than or equal to x's and numbers. Okay, so use that cheat sheet to help you try this. I want you to pause the video and try all of these on your own, and then resume the video to go over the answers with me. So here are the answers to the quick review using the picture for our lesson today. Your minimum I really want to talk about because this can be a little tricky. We did not have one that looked like this in the prior day. And at first glance, you might look and see that there's a closed point over here on the orange highlighted section. But that is not actually the minimum because over here where I circled in purple, that arrow is going to keep going down forever. So there is no minimum. The maximum is at 3. You can see I labeled that in pink on the picture. My y-intercept is 0, 3. My x-intercept, there's actually 2 of them. So -6, 0, and 5, 0. So on the side, if you didn't do so already, put around min and max that should have been a single value. And then for y-intercept and x-intercept, those should have been coordinates. Now I wanted you to do the zeros next because they're directly related to the x-intercept. Zeros, though, are referring only to the x values that would make the function equal to 0. These are not coordinates, they're values. So once you know the x-intercept, take only the x values, those are your zeros. So that should be x equals -6 and x equals 5. Then we know from up above increasing and decreasing already. We already had those answers. X is less than -2 and 3 is less than x, which is less than, let me fix this. This should be 9. And then we have positive, which would be the top portion of the graph. You're going to use those x value cutoffs, which are here and here, to help you realize that that should be from -6 is less than x is less than 5. And then in brown, that would be the negative portion of the graph, which is on the bottom below the x-axis. So that is going to be the portion from -6 to the left and down. So that's x is less than -6. And then when I look at the x-intercept at the orange portion here to the right, it's going to be x is greater than 5. All of those should be intervals. So if you didn't already, please make note of that on your paper. And lastly, you should have found the turning points. Those are the places where the graphs turn direction. So that should have been at -2, 3, and 3, 3. And that concludes our lesson on key features of functions, day 2.